The scent of lavender baby wash still hung in the air, mixing with the faint tang of spit up on my shoulder. Liam, finally asleep after his mid-morning fuss, lay heavy in my arms, his tiny chest rising and falling against mine. Sunlight streamed through the bay window, warming the patchwork quilt Grandma Helen had sent, the one not embroidered with the wrong name. That particular offense sat folded, a silent grenade, in the bottom drawer of the dresser. The doorbell chimed, sharp and insistent, shattering the quiet. My stomach clenched. Only one person rang like they were announcing royalty. "Coming," I called softly, shifting Liam carefully. He stirred, letting out a little sigh that tugged at my heart. I padded to the front door, barefoot on the cool hardwood, and peered through the peephole. Margaret, my mother-in-law, immaculate as always in a crisp linen pantsuit, the color of expensive buttercream, her silver blonde hair sculpted into a perfect helmet. She held a large beribboned gift bag. I took a deep breath, plastered on what I hoped passed for a welcoming smile, and opened the door. "Margaret, hi." "Sarah, darling," she trilled, air kissing somewhere near my cheek, her perfume, something floral and assertive, momentarily overwhelming the baby smell. Her eyes instantly zeroed in on Liam. "And how is my little David today? Did he sleep well?" There it was, again, like a needle jabbing under my skin. "Liam had a good night, actually," I said, emphasizing his name, stepping back to let her in. "He's just drifted off." Margaret waved a dismissive hand, her perfectly manicured nails catching the light. "Oh, pish-posh, Sarah. He looks like a David. Always has to me. Strong features. Regal." She breezed past me into the living room, setting the gift bag down with a flourish. "David suits him far better than that modern thing you picked." "Liam is a classic name," I said, keeping my voice even, though my grip tightened slightly on my son. "We love it. It means strong-willed protector." "David means beloved," Margaret countered smoothly, already untying the elaborate ribbon on the bag. "And it has history, biblical gravitas. Now look what I found." She pulled out a tiny, beautifully knit sweater in pale blue. It was exquisite. And there, stitched meticulously across the chest in navy thread, was the name, David. My breath hitched. This wasn't a slip anymore. This was a declaration, a campaign. "Margaret," I started, my voice tight. "We've talked about this. His name is Liam. We chose it. It's on his birth certificate. Calling him David isn't a nickname. It's ignoring who he is." She looked up, her blue eyes wide with feigned innocence. "Oh, Sarah, don't be so dramatic. It's just a little pet name between Grandma and her grandson. A special bond. He won't even know the difference until he's older." She held up the sweater. "Isn't it, darling? Feel the wool. Merino. So soft for his precious skin." "It is beautiful," I admitted, forcing myself to acknowledge the craftsmanship. "But the name, it's not his. Please, Margaret, please stop calling him David. It really upsets us." She sighed, a long-suffering sound, and carefully folded the sweater back into the bag. "Honestly, Sarah, you young mothers, so sensitive. Everything's a boundary, a trigger. In my day, we just rolled with things. Grandparents had their little quirks, and it was charming. Endearing." She patted my arm. "You'll see. When Liam," I corrected sharper this time, "is older, he'll think it's funny that Grandma had her own special name for him." She smiled, a brittle stretch of lips. "Now where is my son? Working late again, I suppose. That man needs to learn to delegate." The tension simmered for weeks, a low-grade fever in our home. My husband, Ben, was caught in the middle. "Babe, she's just being Margaret," he'd say, rubbing his temples after another visit where David peppered her conversation like unwanted seasoning. "She's eccentric, stubborn, but she means well. She adores him." "Adores David," I snapped one evening after she'd left, leaving behind another package. This time storybooks personalized with David's library stamped on the covers. "She doesn't adore Liam. She refuses to acknowledge he exists under the name we gave him." How is that meaning well? It feels like she's trying to overwrite him. Overwrite us. Ben sighed, running a hand through his hair. It's weird, okay? I admit it's weird. And disrespectful. But kicking her out? Like you threatened last time? Isn't that a bit nuclear? It wasn't a threat, Ben. It was a consequence. I told her if she couldn't respect his name, she wouldn't be welcome. She chose to ignore me. Again. I picked up one of the books, the glossy cover cool under my fingers. This isn't a quirk. It's deliberate. It feels malicious, like she's asserting dominance. Ben looked pained. Malicious? Mom? Come on. She's just set in her ways. Thinks she knows best. Always has. Remember when she redecorated our entire apartment while we were on our honeymoon because she thought beige was insipid? That was intrusive, I conceded. But this is different, Ben. This is our son. His identity starts with his name. It's fundamental. He put his arms around me, resting his chin on my head. I know it is. I'll talk to her again. Seriously this time. Lay down the law. He did, or so he said. According to Ben, he'd been firm. Margaret had apparently sighed dramatically, accused him of being under my thumb, and lamented the loss of grandmotherly rights. But she'd promised to try. Her trying manifested as calling him David, slightly less often during visits, but doubling down in texts, cards, and gifts. My phone buzzed constantly. Thinking of my sweet David, hope he's not too fussy today. Saw the most adorable little sailor suit, perfect for David's first portrait session. David must be getting so big. Send pics. Each message was a tiny paper cut. The pile of David-branded items grew in the back of Liam's closet, a silent, accumulating insult. The breaking point arrived disguised as a casual family Sunday lunch. Ben's sister, Chloe, her husband, Mark, and their two boisterous boys were over. The house was filled with the comforting chaos of family, the clatter of dishes, the boys arguing over superheroes, the smell of roasting chicken. Liam, now 6 months old and full of drooly grins, was the star attraction in his high chair, banging a spoon with gusto. Margaret arrived last, bearing a large flat package wrapped in silver paper. For the nursery, she announced, kissing the air near everyone's cheeks. Hello, darlings. Hello, David. She beamed at Liam, who rewarded her with a gummy smile and a wave of his spoon. Chloe, spooning mashed potatoes onto her youngest son's plate, paused. David. She frowned, looking from Liam to Margaret. Why are you calling him David, Mom? His name's Liam. The room went quiet. Even the boys stopped bickering, sensing the shift. Mark cleared his throat awkwardly. Margaret waved a dismissive hand, her smile never faltering. Oh, Chloe, don't you start too. It's just a little name I have for him. It suits him so much better, don't you think? He has such a strong, David-like presence. Chloe blinked. Suits him better? Mom, that's his name. Liam. It's a great name. She looked at Ben and me, confusion etched on her face. What's going on? Ben shifted uncomfortably in his seat. Mom's just, she's got this thing about the name David. It's not a thing, Benjamin, Margaret corrected, her voice taking on a harder edge. She started unwrapping the package. It's simply what feels right. To me, he is David. In here. She tapped her chest dramatically. Grandmothers know these things. It's an instinct. She pulled the wrapping away to reveal a stunning, hand-stitched wall hanging. It depicted a majestic lion, beautifully rendered, and beneath it, in ornate, swirling script, David's roar. Something inside me snapped. It wasn't just the name this time. It was the sheer, breathtaking audacity, the public declaration, the appropriation of my son's space, his identity, under her chosen banner. The weeks of simmering frustration, the ignored pleas, the dismissive attitude boiled over. No, I said, my voice surprisingly calm, cutting through the stunned silence. His name is Liam, not David. Liam. Margaret turned to me, her expression a mix of condescension and annoyance. Sarah, really? Must you make a scene in front of everyone? It's just a bit of needlepoint and a name. It's harmless. Harmless? The calm evaporated. Ignoring the name his parents gave him? Embroidering it onto blankets and sweaters and now wall hangings? Calling him David to his face, in texts, in front of family. How is that harmless, Margaret? How is it harmless to dismiss his identity? To dismiss us? It's not dismissal, it's preference, she retorted, her cheeks flushing. A grandmother's preference. You're being hysterical and controlling. I'm controlling? I laughed, a sharp, brittle sound. You're the one trying to rename my child because you don't approve of what we chose. You're the one who refuses to respect the most basic thing about him, his name. Ben stood up, his face pale. Okay, let's everyone just calm down. No, Ben. I turned to him, the dam breaking. I've been calm. I've asked nicely. I've pleaded. I've let you talk to her. And look! I gestured wildly at the offensive wall hanging. It's getting worse. She's decorating his nursery with the wrong name now. Where does it stop? Will she introduce him to her friends as David? Register him for preschool as David? Don't be ridiculous, Sarah, Margaret scoffed, rolling her eyes. It's just a bit of fun. A private dash. It's not private, Chloe interjected, standing up now too, her voice tight. Mom, this is really not okay. It's bizarre. And honestly, kind of creepy. You need to stop. Creepy? Margaret looked genuinely affronted, her hand flying to her chest. How dare you? I'm his grandmother. And I am his mother. My voice cracked with the force of it. The room felt too small, the air too thick. Liam, sensing the tension, started to whimper. His name is Liam Alexander Bennett. Not David, not anything else. Liam. I took a step towards Margaret, my heart pounding against my ribs. You have two choices right now, Margaret. You can acknowledge that. You can call him Liam and respect our decision as his parents. Or you can leave. Silence descended, heavy and absolute. Ben stared at me, stunned. Chloe and Mark exchanged worried glances. The boys huddled closer to their dad. Liam's whimpers turned into a full-blown cry. Margaret stared at me, her eyes wide with disbelief, then hardening into cold fury. You're serious? You would kick me out? Over a name? Over respect, I said, my voice trembling but clear. I walked over and picked Liam up, holding him close, his cries muffled against my shoulder. Over basic respect for us as his parents and for him as a person. This isn't about a name. It's about you refusing to accept that you don't get to make the rules for our child. So yes, if you cannot call him Liam, you need to leave. Now. She stood frozen for a moment, her lips pressed into a thin white line. She looked at Ben, clearly expecting him to intervene, to defend her. He looked down at his hands, silent. The betrayal in her eyes was palpable. Then it shifted to pure, icy rage. Fine, she spat, the words sharp as glass. She snatched up the silver wrapping paper, crumpling it violently. If that's how you want it, if you want to keep my grandson from me over this, she gestured contemptuously at Liam and me, then you can live with the consequences. Don't expect me to come crawling back when you realize how foolish you're being. She grabbed her purse, her movements jerky with anger. Benjamin, she said, her voice trembling slightly, I raised you better than to let your wife treat your mother this way. She didn't wait for a response. Head held unnaturally high, she marched out of the living room. The front door opened and slammed shut with a force that rattled the windows. The silence that followed was deafening, broken only by Liam's hiccuping sobs against my neck. The scent of roasted chicken suddenly felt cloying. The beautiful, offending lion wall hanging lay on the table. David's roar seeming to mock us all. Ben sank back into his chair, his face buried in his hands. Jesus, Sarah. Chloe walked over and gently touched my arm. Are you okay? She asked softly. I nodded, unable to speak, holding Liam tighter, breathing in his familiar, comforting scent. Lavender and milk and something uniquely him. I couldn't take it anymore, Chloe. I couldn't. I know, she murmured. It was intense. And Mom, she was way out of line. That was, wow. Mark cleared his throat again. She's always been strong-willed, but this, renaming your kid, that's a new level. Ben looked up, his eyes red-rimmed. What do we do now? She's furious. She'll tell everyone. Dad, Aunt Carol, what she tells them is her choice, I said, finding my voice again, stronger now. What we do is protect our son. His name is Liam. That's non-negotiable. If she wants a relationship with him, she starts by respecting that. Period. The following days were a blur of fallout. My phone buzzed incessantly, not with updates on David, but with calls and texts from Ben's side of the family. His father, Robert, called, sounding weary and confused, asking for calm heads and suggesting, maybe Margaret just needs time to adjust. Ben's Aunt Carol left a long, rambling voicemail about family harmony and not letting a name cause a rift. Friends of Margaret's, women whose names I barely knew, sent vaguely disapproving messages on Facebook about honoring elders. Margaret herself remained silent, but her absence was a loud, angry presence. Ben was torn, guilt warring with frustration. He agreed Margaret was wrong, fundamentally wrong, but the weight of familial expectation, the ingrained urge to placate his formidable mother, was heavy. Maybe we just let it slide for a bit, he ventured hesitantly one evening, watching Liam play with his toes on a blanket on the floor. Let her cool off? Avoid more drama? I looked at him, the man I loved, and felt a pang of both sympathy and steel. Let what slide, Ben? Her calling our son the wrong name. Her decorating his room with it. Her complete dismissal of us as his parents. What exactly are we supposed to compromise on here? His identity. I knelt beside Liam, touching his soft cheek. Look at him. He's Liam. He's not David. Allowing her to call him that, even just for now, tells her it's okay. It tells him it's okay for someone to disregard who he is. I won't do that. I can't. Ben sighed, running a hand over his face. I know you're right. It feels like we're stuck between a rock and Mom. We're not stuck, I said softly but firmly. We chose the rock. The rock is Liam, his name, his well-being, our family. Margaret can choose to stand on the rock with us, respecting the boundaries, or she can stay out in the cold. The choice is hers. We've made ours. The silence stretched, filled only by Liam's happy gurgles. Ben looked from our son to me, the conflict still in his eyes, but a flicker of resolve began to replace the guilt. You're right, he finally said, his voice low but steady. He knelt beside us, touching Liam's tiny hand. Hey there, Liam. Just Liam. Daddy's got your back. He looked up at me, a ghost of a smile touching his lips. And Mommy's too, even if it means weathering Hurricane Margaret. It wasn't over, I knew that. Margaret wouldn't vanish quietly. There would be more fallout, more pressure, perhaps attempts at manipulation or guilt trips disguised as peace offerings. The silver-wrapped grenade was still in the drawer, the lion wall hanging stored away, potential ammunition. But holding Liam, hearing Ben finally truly commit to defending his name, a fragile sense of peace settled over me. We had drawn the line. It was sharp, it was clear, and it was immovable. His name was Liam. It was the first word we gave him, a declaration of love and identity. And no one, not even a grandmother with expensive taste in knitwear and a breathtaking disregard for boundaries, had the right to erase it. The quiet defiance felt like a shield. We were a family of 3 standing firm. The rest was noise, and we were learning to tune it out, one deliberate Liam at a time. The battle wasn't won, but the ground felt solid beneath our feet. For now, that was enough. The scent of lavender and baby, the warmth of my son in my arms, the quiet support of my husband. These were the anchors. The name was safe, the line held, and the silence after the slammed door, while heavy, was finally ours.